We're learning more about the San Bernardino attackers and the type of relationship Syed Farook had with his co-workers.
David Begnaud spoke with one of Farook's former classmates and colleagues, and he joins us now. David, how have these former co-workers described him?
A lot of them have described him like this: very quiet, didn't say much of anything, stayed to himself, religious, pleasant, very effective at work. However, it was the man we spoke with yesterday who said he was anything but that. He was very talkative. He liked cars. He talked about it a lot. He liked his family. He talked about that a lot. He loved his religion. He talked about that a lot. Why is talking a big point? Because everything up to this point has made a point to say the guy was really quiet, unassuming, didn't really get involved, stayed in the back of the room, smiled, didn't really laugh. You know, you wouldn't really notice him when you walked into a room. But this guy who we talked to last night set a very different picture. And I got to tell you, he may be someone who knows the suspect perhaps better than anyone else. And that is why after the shooting, he felt compelled to go to the FBI.
David, this person that you spoke with yesterday, we've heard other colleagues saw a change in Farook after he got married. What did the person you spoke with have to say about that?
Look, he said, you know, he didn't know much about exactly what happened after, but he said when the wife came over, he just became very, very secretive about her. This wasn't a situation, you know, many men like to brag on their wife. They like to compliment their wife. They like to joke about how they have to compliment their wife. This man didn't say anything about his wife. In fact, the coworker said when you would ask about the wife, you wouldn't really get an answer. However, the suspect did tell his coworker this: the wife felt uncomfortable in the U.S. because people would stare at her based on what she wore. She wore the niqab, which is a headdress that shields everything on a woman's face except her eyes. And as she became more conservative here in the United States, that's how she would go out in public. When she wasn't in public, we're told she would stay on the second floor of this apartment. If you look behind me, there's a computer monitor inside a room. That's the baby's room. We're told that's where the wife would stay. When she was here at home, she'd stay on the second floor. She prayed, she took care of the kid, rarely ever went outside, and she didn't drive.
You know, David, a lot of people are somewhat surprised that the wife, Tashfeen Malik, would actually leave their 6-month-old before allegedly going on this shooting rampage. I mean, what else do we know about her other than the fact that she appeared to be a very quiet person? Is there anybody in the neighborhood that interacted with her, that interacted with perhaps their child?
Nobody. I mean, that's the most bizarre thing. You find one person around here who thinks that leaving behind a 6-month-old child is right or justifiable, and you're better than me. We have not been able to find it. We've talked to people, and nobody says, I saw her at the store, or I saw her buying diapers. Nothing. Nobody has said that. And again, that's the one question people want to know. How do you go about killing a bunch of people but then leaving behind a child? You know, are you even thinking about that child when you make that decision to commit mass murder? I think you got to go to the Middle East to find people who could tell you something about her. We have heard from law enforcement sources, and again through some friends, that she was very, very religious. Did she radicalize him? Was she the ringleader? That's going to be for the FBI to say. But a lot of people are wondering that, and a lot of people are thinking that.
All right. David Begnaud reporting for us from California. David, thank you.